Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about blood clotting. So we're going to journey into the tiniest blood vessels in our body called the capillaries. These blood vessels are really small. They can actually only fit one red blood cell through at a time. And around our capillaries we would have body cells. So this could be in our skin, okay, in our muscles, our heart, okay, wherever we're looking in our body. Let's just hypothetically say these body cells are in our skin. So this is my capillary. Inside my capillary, I'd have blood flowing through it, okay, the liquid, and it would have some red blood cells in it. It would also have many other things, including platelets. Platelets are just fragments of cells. That's why they're significantly smaller than my red blood cells. And they kind of look like little pieces of popcorn. Red blood cells we know are microscopic, but even smaller, I wouldn't even be able to see with a microscope, would be things like proteins, like enzymes, nutrients like glucose, and a bunch of other things flowing through the blood, water, stuff like that, oxygen, carbon dioxide. So in this video, what we're talking about is what happens in our blood when we have something bad happen. So let's hypothetically say that we have something happen to our capillary, it's burst right here. It's broken open. So basically this could be maybe you're coughing really bad because you have a really bad cold and you've broken some blood vessels in your face. Okay, maybe you've got a cut and within that cut you've also severed some capillaries. So what happens is blood is going to obviously start flowing out of the capillary, and inside our blood we know we have platelets. So we notice that the platelets are going to start coming into contact with the body cells, and this is going to be the first step into clotting our blood. The platelets have to be exposed to a body tissue in order for them to start this process. So once they go through this initial sensing of the body tissue, they are going to send a signal to each other saying, hey guys, we have a problem. We need to get into clotting mode. So you guys all need to start moving towards the opening and forming a temporary clot. So this guy right here is going to be telling all of his other platelet friends, come closer to that clot, because otherwise we're going to have a really big problem. So once that happens, that signal is sent, the platelets are going to start moving slowly towards, and we're going to form a clot. Now, platelets aren't very sticky, so this is, I call a temporary clot because it's temporary in that if it doesn't get reinforcement, okay, it's just going to basically have blood flowing by it and start pushing through it. Okay, so that's not going to be a very good solution for long term. We have to come in and get some little sticky reinforcement that forms a real clot. And how that happens is through a series of processes, which we're going to talk about. So what we need to do to reinforce the clot is we eventually need to make a little meshy net, which you guys see on your skin as kind of a scab. And it's called fibrin that makes that scab. But before we can make fibrin, we have to take something called fibrinogen, which looks like this. And it has this little cap on the front of it because this is basically fibrin right here, this green part. And it's sticky, really sticky on this side. So if it's traveling through our blood and we're not trying to clot, okay, what it normally looks like is this, fibrin. But if fibrin is like fibrin, like has this part exposed, what happens is it just basically sticks to all other pieces of fibrin. So normally if we're not clotting the blood, we have to kind of cover up that really sticky piece, or else we're going to form clots accidentally, and that's not going to be good because if they travel to the heart, that would cause a heart attack, and if they travel to the brain, it's going to cause a stroke, so we don't want that to happen. So we're going to initiate this process of removing this cap only when we're trying to clot the blood, because eventually we're going to use that little string of fibrin, and it's going to kind of intertwine itself throughout the platelets and reinforce that clot, so that's actually like a viable clot that we can use so we can heal. So in order to do that, we have to go through a cascade of enzyme catalyzed reactions. So we have enzymes that speed up reactions. Those enzymes are going to be triggered by platelets. So the first thing that we're doing is we're taking something called prothrombin, and we're taking it and we're turning it into thrombin. Thrombin is the enzyme that's going to tell fibrinogen to turn into fibrin. So thrombin needs to be made, but in order to do that, I have to take this molecule, prothrombin, and these circles that are all around the prothrombin are calcium ions. So I'm going to remove them, And I'm going to make something called thrombin, which is the exact same as prothrombin, but minus the calcium ions. So once I have some prothrombin turning into thrombin, the thrombin is going to actually attach to the cap on the fibrinogen, and it's going to remove it. So it can expose that sticky end of the fibrin and they can start sticking together. So my thrombin is going to travel towards my fibrinogen. It's going to remove that cap, and now we have that sticky end exposed, and then it's going to just naturally start to attach to each other. Okay, so if I go back to my blood vessel, what's going to be happening, because all this stuff that I'm looking at is happening really, really, really deep within the blood, where I wouldn't be able to see it in this picture because it's so small. But once I form these fibrinogen molecules sticking together, they're going to basically reinforce that clot that I've made with the platelets and just basically make a little stringy mesh net over top of them. So now the red blood cells aren't going to be able to push past and break open that clot. Okay, if you actually look at a real clot, it would look like this. So you have all of these red blood cells. This is a white blood cell, and you have this fibrin net kind of just mashing around it. Okay, you guys see this as a scab, and usually scabs are red, and they're red because a whole bunch of red blood cells usually get stuck within them. And that's just going to basically help build a thicker and thicker clot to reinforce it and make it thicker so it's easier for us to heal. Eventually, over time, that scab falls off because you've made new skin cells underneath that scab, and now you've healed that capillary wall. So that is how we clot our blood. You do have to draw those pictures and write down the words so that you know them for a quiz tomorrow. If you have any questions, please let me know. But if not, have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you all tomorrow.